I just finished photo reading a book that I'm really excited about, and it's kind of weird. The book is called No Sweat. The author is Michelle Segar, S-E-G-A-R. She's a PhD from the University of Michigan, and it's a book about exercise, at least nominally. And many of you know that I am not a big fan of exercise. I don't really get all excited about going to the gym and sweating. I had sort of a drill instructor trainer for a number of years, tiny little person who terrorized and traumatized me, basically. And it was a bad experience. And I've often wondered why that was such a bad experience for me, even though I was spending a fortune and diligent and doing everything I was told to do. And over the years, I developed a different workout regimen, which is built around a very simple concept. Walk to get your coffee. Go 3-4 times a day, take your walk and get your coffee. And I use my wristband to measure my steps. And lo and behold, I'm getting 15,000 steps a day. And it's really a remarkable transformation for me to be able to do that. And I've often wondered why that happened. Well, as it turns out, a friend of mine said, who knows that I'm interested in behavior and psychology and the way the brain works. And they said, listen, you gotta follow Dr. Michelle Segar. She's got this book out that is not about exercise. I mean, it is about exercise, but it's really not about exercise. It's really about the motivation behind it and why people can do some of these things so much more effectively than others, called No Sweat. Well, I photo read the book, which I love doing. And then I put it on an Audible book and I jacked the speed up to like 5x, which is great when you are, out taking your walk to get your coffee. And I was so struck with one of the things she talked about, and I realized, wow, this has perfect application to the bar exam. So I want to talk about what I call, or what she calls, self-determination theory, or SDT, which sounds vaguely like a disease you get, but self-determination theory. And I would subtitle it, The Benefits of Owning Our Choices. The benefits of owning our choices. You see, what she's talking about in the context of exercise will also apply to the bar review. Her premise is that when we have have-tos, things that we have to do, these are the things I have to do, versus those things that we're curious and motivated to do, it changes all of the motivation entirely. And I think it's as true for study in the bar as it is for exercise or almost anything else. So I want to kind of examine those things and then take a look at how you can take ownership of your study. Because one of the things that we know is that motivation for people when they're studying is a real challenge. Some people come at this very motivated. Some people come at it with incredible willpower. But lots of people lose steam. They lose enthusiasm. They get discouraged. They get distracted. And then they're out of the game or bad things happen. So I think this is a wonderful narrative in which we can place that process and begin to understand it. So here's what Dr. Segar says. She says there are things you have to do in life, and she talks about exercise. And she says, when you're told you have to do it to lose weight, for example, which is what I was told, it feels like you're being controlled. Yeah, sure does. You got to lose 15 pounds or 20 pounds. Don't tell me what to do, man. I don't like that. Don't control me. But that's what it is. And it doesn't matter who's saying it, whether it's your doctor or it's your family or, whatever. It's just like, or maybe it's just looking in the mirror or standing on the scale. It feels like you're being controlled. The other quality of something you have to do is that it feels like punishment. When I went to the gym to work out with the trainer because I had to lose weight, I felt like I was being punished. No doubt about it. I mean, any excuse to avoid going to that gym, even though I paid a fortune to do it, and even though the trainer was top-notch, one of the world-class trainer, and she's a lovely person, okay? I don't want to make her out to be something else. She was lovely, but it felt like punishment. The entire time I was there, I hated it. I felt like I was literally being punished for being fat, old, and out of shape. Okay. And I'd look at all the, this was up at the beach when I started doing this. And so there are all these tan muscle surfer guys, like, yo, dude, I just bench pressed 400 pounds. Woo, like, really? This is not fun. I don't like this. It's punishment. And I felt controlled. That's when something is a have to do. On the other hand, she describes this other process in which we are curious and motivated. If I'm curious and motivated to do something, then everything changes. First of all, instead of feeling controlled, I have autonomy. I get to make my own decisions about it. So if I'm curious and motivated about my getting outside, learning, listening to books, having some time to decompress, getting my coffee, and I get to choose when I take my walks and how far I walk, it's autonomy. I love that. I get to make those decisions. June can tell you I put it on my schedule every day. I'm walking. Actually, we call it a drock. I drive a certain distance and then I walk the rest of the way. New words we're making up. So I've got autonomy when I'm doing it. The other thing that happens when I'm curious and motivated to do exercise or walking is that I have ownership. Now I own the activity. When I decided what kind of exercise I wanted to do, which was walking, because I enjoyed walking. I don't enjoy bike riding. I don't enjoy swimming. I enjoy walking. I can put on my headphones. I'm a happy guy, and I can listen and talk and think and do all these things. I've got ownership in the activity. So suddenly things have changed. Now, that's all a broad context. This idea of when you have to do something versus when you're curious and motivated. Now I want to draw that down specifically to taking ownership of your study for the bar, because I think there's a very clear and direct correlation. So I want to give you 3 ways that I think you can take ownership of your study so that you become curious and motivated instead of feeling controlled and punished. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so the first step in how to take ownership of your study is to frame the activity. Frame the activity. Look, if you're studying for the bar and you see it, if somebody said, what's it like to study for the bar? And you said, oh, it's a chore, it's a hassle, it's a struggle, it's, whatever bad words you want to attach to that. All of those things are framing. If you're framing your study as, oh my God, I can't do it. It's so bad. It's so miserable. I don't get time with my family. I don't get time to do anything at work. My life sucks. Okay. And you've heard people say that, and perhaps you've said it yourself. If that's your frame, then what happens is you've given up ownership. You are feeling controlled. The bar examiners are controlling you. They are punishing you. Whoever told you have to take the bar is punishing you. Maybe it's your family or your boss or the profession. And when it is a chore to you, and chore is too mild a word in some respects, then it's bad. You're going to feel like I have to do. So what do you do instead? Well, I think the most successful students are the people who frame this activity of studying as being personally meaningful. And here's what I mean. Typically, I have people who say to me, this is so exciting to get back into the intellectual stimulation of learning new stuff. I don't care who you are and what you've been doing and how long you've been doing it. You are going to learn some new things as you go through studying for the bar. No one is expert in all 14, 15, 16, 22 topics on the bar exam. So you're going to get a chance to visit some things maybe you never got to learn. It's a great way to do that if you approach it from that standpoint, if you frame the study that way. Now, another way you might frame the study is to say, it's meaningful to me to be able to stretch myself, to challenge myself, to do something that I know is difficult, but it's something I want to do. I have people who come to me years and years later, like I had the earlier question from a student who's been out of law school 40 years. Why do it? They're successful in what they do right now. Well, they want to frame this in terms of something that's really meaningful to them. This particular person said, I've got 2 children who are in law already. I'd like to go into practice with them. That's personally meaningful. And because it's personally meaningful, it's no longer a chore. It's just a step that you take to go through. I've also had students say to me over the years that they found it meaningful that we talked about more than just the nuts and bolts of the law. That is, we talked about learning and behavior, discussions like the one we're having today. We talked about how people handle stress and handle challenges, and that they found nuggets, I guess, for lack of a better term. They found some wisdom. They found some insight. They learned some things about themselves that were really meaningful and important to them. So if you frame the activity in a way that's personally meaningful, it's going to really help you take ownership. Again, it's going to give you that autonomy that you want, and that's going to lead to a more successful result. So that's the first way that I think you take ownership of your study. The second way to take ownership of your study is to consider what Dr. Segar calls the why. The why. Why do you do something is very important, right? Why do you exercise? If I ask that question of most people, I think they'd say, I do it to lose weight or to look better. Very few people, unfortunately, would say, I do it because I actually enjoy it, because it feels good to me, because it releases endorphins, or it gives me a chance to be outside, or a lot of other reasons. The why is very, very important. Well, for our purposes, when we consider the why, I would suggest that one of the things you want to do is consider and focus the end result. The why is not to pass the bar. That's just the how. I pass the bar and then something happens. So what's the end result you're looking for? I try to not get overtly political in these discussions, but honest to God, folks, you can't be blind to the fact that the rule of law is under enormous challenge right now in our country. And the need for good quality lawyers, regardless of your politics, but good quality lawyers who protect the rule of law has never been greater. And so the end result of what I do is to help put more good lawyers into the system. That's what I focus on. That's my end result. For you as a bar taker, the end result is, what are you going to do when you're a member of the bar? Some of you have not thought about that very much. Some of you are so worried about getting to the bar exam, you haven't given it a lot of thought, or if you've given a lot of thought, you're too afraid to think about it. But I think when you start really focusing on the end result, big things happen. In our webinar, we asked the question, would passing the bar change your life, and how? And when we ask that question, the responses we get are absolutely stunning. I mean, people say things about what a difference it would make in their life to be a member of the bar. And it's not just the obvious things like I'd make more money or I'd have more prestige or so on. They say things like, I'd get my life back. My kids would respect me. I'd be the first person in my family to be doing this. I'd make a difference in my community. I mean, the list just goes on and on. I'd be able to bring my spouse home to stay with the kids, and I could, and not have to work. I'd be able to move closer to my aging parents. I'd be able to live where I want. I mean, these are amazing things, right? And so when you focus on the end result, well, you're considering the why, and everything changes. If your why is big enough, then nothing matters. Nothing's going to get in your way. We did an interview last year with a man who passed the Florida bar. And just before the exam, his teenage daughter died of cancer. It is a tragic, unbelievably sad story. But the amazing part of his story is that his why was so much bigger that he was able to overcome what I think would be the most devastating loss any parent could have. It was important for him in his world to be able to be a member of the bar, to carry on his daughter's legacy. And so he didn't let the tragedy in his life stop him. His why was big enough. By the same token, I've had people who've stopped or given up for really trivial things because their why was so small. My cat got sick. Well, I'm sorry. I really am sorry, but really, you're not going to take the bar exam because your cat got sick? What's your why? So you got to focus on the end result. Now, when you've got the right why, if you're trying to figure out, well, what does he mean? And how do I know if I've got the right why or the wrong why? Well, here's the test. The right why will be relevant and meaningful to you. It'll be relevant and meaningful. The right why will have something to do with actually being a member of the bar, using your membership in the bar for something that's important to you. It'll be meaningful to you. If you want to do a nonprofit community service as a lawyer, it's pretty meaningful and it's relevant. I've got students who are foreign trained attorneys who want to do immigration law. Do you think we need immigration lawyers in the US right now? Yeah, I think so. It's relevant and it's meaningful. And when you've got that why, it literally powers you through a variety of challenges. Now, an example of the wrong why, well, if it's the wrong why, it's going to leave you feeling depleted and defeated. It's going to leave you depleted and defeated. If you've got a trivial why for doing this, I'm doing it because I have to do it. I'm doing it because these stupid bar examiners make me take this test. I'm doing it because the Bar Association is a closed trade group and they're just being unfair to me. I hear that a lot. I generally hear it from people who fail the exam. And part of the reason that it's so discouraging is that they've simply given up. They simply don't have a why that's big enough. I'm just doing it because I have to do it. Well, when things go bad, and they do often, you don't have much in the way of resources to work with. You're defeated before you begin, and you're depleted. You got nothing to sustain you through those hard times when the study gets difficult or your friends want to go out and you've got to stay and study. In those moments, if your why is small and trivial, then there's really nothing holding you back. And so I'd rather sit and play a video game or do something else or hang out with my friends or watch a football game or whatever it might be. Why should I bother with the bar exam? It's a rigged game anyway. Okay, so consider the why. And if you haven't really thought about it, sit down and write it out. I mean, just write out. Simple question, complex answer maybe. How would passing the bar change your life? Think about it. I suspect the answer is more significant and more meaningful than maybe some of you have considered up to this point. All right, so we've talked about 2 ways to take ownership of your study. Frame the activity, consider the why. Here's the third. Don't muddy the water. Don't muddy the water. Now, this is going to be counterintuitive to some of you. Some people believe that the way that they should motivate themselves is to have a lot of reasons, a lot of external reasons. Well, it's important for me to pass the bar because I want to do this and this and this and this, and I get to make more money, and I get to do this, and they just keep adding on all these external things. I get to prove that I'm smart enough, and I get to make my parents proud of me, and I get to do this, and I get to do that. One of the challenges with that, candidly, is that when you've got too many external reasons, you end up muddying the water. There's actually some interesting psychological research, not in the area of bar studies, but in the areas of children and nutrition. And if you tell children that something is good for them, and you tell them it tastes good, they won't like it as much as if you just tell them it tastes good. Even though they know that something is good for them, they should like. The more external reasons you give, apparently, the less effective any of those become. So my suggestion is to focus on the primary meaning for you of the bar exam. Just pick the one thing that really matters to you. Maybe it's your family. Maybe it's the work you want to do. Maybe it's something in terms of your own personal pride. Maybe it's paying off your debt. I mean, whatever, it's up to you. But find the one thing and really lock in on that. Set up a vision board, get a picture or pictures of it, get the words that help you identify it, but be aware of it and don't be too broad. Don't make it too many things. When you do that, you muddy the water and you really lose ownership of your study. The net effect of this is to lose focus. If there are too many things going on in terms of your study, then what we find and what the research says is that you'll basically lose your enthusiasm. In the context of exercise, if someone says, well, I want to exercise because I need to lose weight and because I'm hoping to find a really good husband or wife at the gym, neither thing happens. It just doesn't work that way. Find the one primary thing that you want to do and the primary reason, and then stay with that and keep your focus there. When you find the primary meaning of what you're doing, lock into it like a laser beam. Get it in your brain, get it in front of you, get it in your affirmations. There was a great thread on our Extra Mile Facebook group today about affirmations and developing your affirmations and really trusting them and working with them. There are terrific affirmations in our course. The Paraliminals have great affirmations as well. I find it really helpful to lock in on one and stay with it for a while and really lock it in, really make it real, own it, and come to find that as my primary meaning. There is a reason that you're taking the bar exam beyond the fact that you have to take it. Everyone has to take it. The point is not that you have to take it to practice law. The point is, what do you do after that? And if you can start looking beyond taking the exam to what happens next, I think you get much better results. What Dr. Segar found was that when people exercised because they enjoyed just being out, when they saw it as a reward, as a treat, when they gave themselves autonomy and ownership, then even if they did less hard sweating, break it down exercise, they got better results. But the people that grind it out, that go religiously, that do all the work, that, because they're told they have to, or they feel like they have to, those people, well, you know what happens. They stop going to exercise. They go on, they go off, they go on, they go off, and they never make any progress at all. If you're like so many people and you struggle with exercise, I can't recommend enough this book, No Sweat. but I think it's getting a lot of play in a lot of social behavior circles, because this idea of the self-determination theory just goes so far. I think that if, when you are writing an essay in the bar exam, and you're doing it because you really want to test your ability to articulate and solve a problem that's given to you, here's this opportunity to take a new set of facts and figure it out. That's a very different mindset than, oh crap, I got to do another bar essay, and it's another stupid hypothetical, and really, who cares, and what difference does it make? Well, you see the difference. I mean, you can tell the difference just from the words I'm using. And so when you have self-determination, what the theory says is you're going to get much better results, more long-lasting results, and more valuable results. So I encourage all of you to begin to take ownership of your study. The benefits of owning your own choices when it comes to study are literally incalculable, but I see over and over again, students who pass the bar are the people that own their own choices.